given all like the land management stuff that's even come up recently, with selling public land and all of that, like in which of course I oppose, and I'm glad none of it is occurring. At least right now, the land management of a lot of the places we hunt is like D- quality. That's just the reality. And people who don't like, I don't want to like I'm not trying to like disparage folks that this is a big part of like their platform and what they talk about. But a lot of people who talk about public land management, they have always viewed it as solely a user, solely as somebody who comes in and uses those places for one specific use, one specific part of the year. And that's their knowledge, or that's their experience. And then they take everything that comes out of this world as like gospel and truth.
Yeah.
I can promise you, anybody who has worked with federal land managers day to day has a completely different opinion.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Fair Chase podcast. Cliff, thanks for being here today.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, James.
So we were talking ahead of this, and I'm fairly new, Cliff, to you and your page, which has a pretty large following. Which I just discovered, you've been on Joe Rogan, you've been all over the place, and so wanted to get you on and just to meet you. Interesting guy. How are you?
Yeah, good, man. Thanks for having me. Hopefully I'll be interesting this morning. A little lagging this morning. I have no idea why. So
you mentioned you're Pacific time zone. Where do you live?
Yeah, man. So I live. So nowadays I spend about half the year in Oregon, and then really like a big chunk of that's during the fall guiding season. So I'm not even here. I kind of bounce around between different places, a little bit in the spring too. So basically I come back. So the rest of the year I live in Puerto Rico, and then I come back and start guiding spring bear hunts. Then in Oregon, kind of through the summer. I've got some family here, and then I start guiding here mid August, late August, and that kind of varies year to year, man. Colorado, Idaho, Montana, Eastern Oregon, kind of a little bit of everything. Sometimes Alaska. I skipped it this year, but
This year in 25, you're skipping it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this, and honestly, this is what I wanted to have you on. You see a lot of people online who have, different experience, they basically position themselves as people of experience and they know this or that. And they like to give a lot of tips out. You give tips out, but the kind of thing, the pointers, the information that you spread on your channel is like really the only kind you can get with experience. So, I'm not going to pick your brain today on all the things that you should do for if you're bear hunting or you want to skin the face off a bear or whatever, not mess up the hide, any of that. I want to know how you got to where you are and how you got the experience you have, especially because you have a sort of a unique background that really isn't initially in like the hunting space, right?
Right. Yeah. So yeah, to touch on that briefly, because I guess the answer to that would be it was and it wasn't, right? So I grew up, my dad managed the big cattle ranch in Colorado, and then he outfitted in the off season. That was kind of like a traditional like cattle ranching kind of job. 25, well, I guess now it's been 35 years ago, 30 years ago or whatever, is guys would have cattle ranch, and then have grazing permits on the forest, and a lot of them outfitted because they had the commercial permits on the forest too. So they were packers and did that kind of hunting. So I was exposed to that as a kid, but I also kind of had like a split childhood between California and Colorado, so it gets even more complicated. But I was exposed to the hunting world quite a bit, and I've always, I grew up kind of a kid by himself hunting every afternoon for whatever he could figure out, you know what I mean? So yeah. I had that background, but then I don't know, I mean, I was getting like the weeds of, late high school and college and all of that. I for sure had the feeling of like wanting to do something else. So I worked in the more traditional, I guess you'd call it corporate America, finance kind of world for basically 4 or 5 years. And then I ended up, I had a business with my brother. I sold that part of my business to my brother. He's been wildly successful with that. And I I went back to Colorado, kind of like to have a little mini retirement at like 25, 26 years old.
Sure.
And I fell back into outfitting and guide that world. Kind of, to be honest, man, like wasn't a planned thing. And I think I got back into it more as like a hobby / interesting. I picked up a business that was like a pretty obvious like turnaround type of situation. I thought, oh, this would be fun. I'm pretty familiar with it. I did like the only component, and I think like anybody who's like interested in this world, particularly like the wilderness guiding outfitting world, I always mention this because a lot of guys want to get into it, and maybe sometimes they reflect on my story and they think, oh, that's very doable, and it totally is. But one thing I had from basically my childhood was I had a lot of livestock experience, like the horse and mule packing component. Even though I had done other things in my early 20s, they were like totally unrelated.
Right.
I was a trader in the financial world. I was working in a cubicle in a fancy office for 5 years. I still had like I had that core like livestock experience, and the wilderness stuff. That's a hard, if you don't have that to run one of those businesses, like it's pretty steep learning curve. You got to have somebody that can do it. So I
I
had
can
that.
handle the animals.
Yeah, I had that, and yeah, I got back into it, and then it's interesting, man. Like within maybe, I don't know, like within 18 months, it had morphed into my full-time job. And I was like, I think sometimes things that you enjoy or that are growing or you're fixing or whatever, like they tend to, take over because that's what's fun. And that's why I ended up down that path. And then, in the beginning, I was guiding a lot myself, like a lot. I mean, like, and that's like, I guess the answer to your question is, in the end, all of these things, hunting, guiding, outfitting, it's like, it's a business and a job that has its little nuances, but it's not brain surgery. Right. It doesn't, it's not, there's for sure some things that are trying about it. And you could argue that it's got some components that run people out of it just because like the work, just like literally like the physical work part of it. Like you're not avoiding physical labor. Doesn't matter who the hell you are or whatever, if you're involved in one. But, but, it's not, it's just a rep thing. You know what I mean? It's just like you start to do, you start to, you're guiding a lot at first, and then you're observing a lot of hunters. And that's where most of my stuff came from, man.
Right.
Is I just, and maybe I was a little bit, kind of, analytical in the sense that I've kind of been like right brained in the sense that, like, as I observed all these people I was guiding, guides that worked for me, and groups of hunters, I kind of made mental notes of what worked and didn't. And I think a lot of my content, honestly, is like a lot of guys that have been hunting a long time. They almost view it as obvious,
Right.
but for a lot of people, it's not obvious.
OnX is the title sponsor of our podcast here at the Fair Chase, and it's a must-have app for all of us who love to explore the outdoors. Whether you're hunting or hiking or fly fishing, OnX gives you detailed, accurate maps right at your fingertips. With property boundaries, topographical features, and trail data, you'll always know where you are and where you're headed. You'll also likely be able to figure out where that big buck is headed to. Plus, their offline maps mean you're covered even in the most remote locations. OnX is the ultimate tool for outdoor navigation, making every adventure safer and more enjoyable. Download OnX today and explore with confidence.
And it's like, it's just, I mean, not to like toot my own horn, but a lot of the really like basic stuff is what makes all the difference.
No, truly. Yeah. Well, and it's like, and we'll have this, a lot of the people that interact with us on our channel have a lot of very technical questions, but there's also some very like basic stuff that, we try to point them back to, which is, again, it's just stuff that you learn, like you said, through reps. But I want to go back a second. So you were a financial trader.
Mm-hmm.
Is this out of college? This is what your out of college job was?
Yeah.
How'd you get into that?
Well, so I was so in undergrad, I went to Stanford, and I had a bunch of coursework in computer science, and then I had an and then I majored in economics. So it kind of like flowed right into it.
Right.
And the thing, it's interesting. I don't know how old you are, man, but I'm guessing we're like similar generation. When I came out of undergrad, like all the stuff that people are obsessed with now, Google, Google, Facebook, it's now Meta, Instagram, like all of that stuff. That was like, that was like those were like sub-tier jobs.
Sure. Right.
Everybody wanted to go to it was Goldman's. This was before like the financial crisis, like the real estate induced financial crisis and all like the financial innovation, uh, that created the crisis at that time. So like it was going to the big investment banks. That was where that was like that was where it was competitive. You know what I mean?
That's
Going to
like me.
Google, yeah. I mean, going to Google, Facebook, all that. Like that was. I mean, they were good jobs, but I mean, that wasn't where like the cool kids were going.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So you were one of the cool kids. You went to Stanford. You went to grad school, right?
Yeah. So I worked for a short period of time, and then went back to grad school. I went to University of Chicago.
Okay. Did you live in Chicago, or is that remote?
What's that?
Did you live in Chicago?
Yeah, I lived in Chicago.
You
I lived in Chicago for 2 years, and that was more like the same kind of education, man. Quantitative finance focus, like nerd level finance.
Yeah.
But
it's a good skill to have. I feel like if you know how to do that, you pretty much always have a job somewhere.
yeah, I could always, yeah. There's probably some truth to that. You know what I mean? Like I could, it's funny, dude. Like, I mean, I still know guys in that world, and
Yeah.
I have very good family that's pretty, my brother's pretty in depth in that world. I just don't know. I don't know that I could ever go back to it.
Why? What made you just make the huge switch? I mean, that's like a 180.
Yeah. So, if I was being completely honest, and maybe some of the folks that watch your or listen to your stuff could understand this, but for me, growing up as like so part of my childhood is I was always in like a rural environment, and outdoors were like a big component of that.
Yeah.
And when I was working in that world, you had to be in an urban environment. It's like, not to get in like the crazy weeds of it, but a lot of the stuff that I was doing, you still have to be in an urban environment. I mean, there's like some of that actually had to do with like the technical, like the quickness of transactions.
Right.
Like you had to be, you had to be in Chicago, you had to be in Dallas, you had to be in Manhattan, and in all of those places I lived in a very short period of time, like bouncing around,
Yeah.
and none of them were compatible with me.
Right. Yeah.
It's not even like there's things in your life that you might as well like be rational about and be like, this shit ain't gonna work. Doesn't matter if I make $5 million a year or whatever. Like it ain't gonna work. You know what I mean? And so for me, the urban environment was it.
No, I mean, it resonates with me. I have out of college, went to law school, lived in Newark, outside of Manhattan. To be a lawyer, you got to be in a pretty urban settings a lot of the time, or at least for the type of career trajectory that I was headed to. So I had the same thing, kind of a huge. I just missed. I'm from Michigan. I lived on a dirt road a lot of growing up. So it's like it's what I'm used to, and that's what I almost got homesick for after a while living there. Although I really did love lots of parts of living there too.
Sure, but it's like what would be the metaphor or analogy like in the hunting world, right? Like you're taking things out of their natural habitat.
Yeah,
It ain't gonna work. You know what I mean?
Not for long. You're gonna break down at some point. Yeah. And I would have, so what was the thing that pushed you over the edge? How'd you what was the thing? When did you decide like this is
Oh, I don't think there was like a I don't remember there being like a specific moment,
You didn't have a blow up at the office,
No, I didn't have, yeah. No,
I
I didn't have a blow up or whatever, and then like I will say this because I feel like a lot of people struggle with this choice. You know what I mean? And I don't think that it's like cut and dry for a lot of people. Because I mean, one, for me, I made this choice when I was like a free agent, man.
Right.
Like I had a girlfriend at the time who ended up being my wife, but that was it. You know what I mean? And And so making those type of choices are a lot different when, and the other thing is like I didn't grow up like in a dirt floor house or something, but I kind of knew what being like poor was. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I hate to say it, but there's like power in that. I didn't give a shit if I was like, I could live off of at that time. I could have lived off of 20 grand a year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it doesn't.
Sweet.
It doesn't like. I get. I'm not saying that as like. I'm not trying to be like egotistical. I'm trying to say that it was much easier for me to make a life decision at that time.
Yeah,
Because
totally.
of that. You know what I mean?
Well, you don't have dependence. You have you to worry about, and you're used to getting by on less. Like there's a lot of you can be satisfied.
Yeah, you should have a little more. It's all like a psychological trick. You know what I mean? I'm not saying like anybody can't change what they're doing if they're unhappy, but it's easier if you don't have like that barrier to it.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I think I just for me, and I think maybe also got a little bit lucky because I was surrounded by people that nobody was poo-pooing it. A lot of guys I see, I see guys like my age. I see, guys between, let's say 35 and 45 that, running into like pretty big you may have friends like this, you can tell that maybe they've got a lot of success, maybe not, maybe they got married, maybe they've got a happy marriage, maybe they just got divorced, like whatever. And they're like, they want to make a big change that would probably improve their life, but it's going to take like 3 or 4 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And man, it's very hard. And it's super hard if they have a wife or parents or somebody that's telling them that they're idiots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by 2O Gear, innovators in technical hunting clothing. 2O is a newer company. It's based right here in Michigan. And whether you're hunting elk in the mountains or chasing antelope in the plains or traipsing through swamps after that ruddy buck, 2O has you covered with premium jackets and pants, merino wool layers, everything you could possibly need to stay comfortable in the woods. Their products are engineered for functionality and durability, ensuring you stay protected in any conditions. Plus, their camo is really effective. We're big fans. So don't take our word for it, though. Go to 2ogear.com and check it out.
That's rare, too. There's not a lot of parents that would be like, quit your job.
Yeah. Or at least be like passive on it. Most people.
Yeah.
Most parents are like protective of, they want you to be stable and all that.
So I get as a parent, my daughter, when she gets married, I'm going to expect a lot. Her husband to have a stable job and, all the rest. But.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I got daughters too. I'm the same way. Like, if they're like hanging out with a guy, not that I was like a dirtbag or anything, but it's just you think about like the variability.
Yeah, right.
You think about what the variability of that type of career path is or whatever.
It can be interesting. Yeah, no, that's for sure. So you left finance, you say at 25?
Yeah, I was 26.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then where'd you go? How'd you make that switch? Like, who'd you get connected with? And
yeah, so I bought a business in the flat tops, and it had been adjacent. It had been adjacent to kind of my dad's old permits, and so I was kind of like not like exactly adjacent, but I mean these are like giant areas, so like right across the highway kind of thing. I was familiar with it as a kid, the area and the permits and everything else. And it was like a heyday of elk. I mean, it was like the mecca of elk hunting, particularly back in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And it, I'll mention this because I guess it's like anybody who's interested in this world. I do have some strong, maybe strong or controversial opinions about it, but if you're going to be in that business, sometimes people view it as they're, I don't know, it's distasteful to them or something, but it's just like any other business. If you're going to be in the hunting business, you can't do 5 hunts a year. You got to do 150. Like you have to make a living. You got to do, you got to do 200. Like the max. Well, I mean, I had the biggest year I did between like what I was doing in Canada and here and different places in Colorado. I was doing like 400 hunts a year. You know what I mean? And it's not like you're making, you're not getting rich. You know what I mean? You're just making a living.
Yeah.
But the challenge is if you don't do that, it's very much a struggle. So
you got to bulk up. your number.
Yeah, you need to be you got to be very specific about like what you get yourself into, because you need to have the capacity to grow. Um, and I don't, it like I don't know how, like, what your perspective is on the hunting world and like your experience with it, but it's kind of a very interesting business in that way, because it's kind of shit. Like, outfitting and guiding is it's got this weird undercurrent culturally
Mhm.
that if you're growing, you're like a bad guy.
Yeah.
You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's it's interesting that for some reason it has that culture. It
Why
comes
is that?
from well, it comes from this belief that outfitters are exploiting a resource,
Yeah.
particularly a public resource, you know? But even the private land guys deal with this, like,
Yeah.
this kind of, I'm looking for the word, but my brain's not operating at full capacity this morning. But you know what I'm talking about. Like,
You're not grunge anymore, man. You're sold out. You've gone
yeah.
a bit. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like I think it's the idea that they're exploiting a public resource.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I think there's places on this earth where that's actually a legitimate argument. You know what I mean? Like, there's places where, outfitters are getting allocated. I mean, there's places I know in Asia where there's outfitters getting tags allocated purely through corrupt means.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
like, so that is an exploitation of like a public resource.
Yeah.
That's one extreme. And then, other places there's like somewhere in between, right? In the US, in the vast majority of places, like, maybe you could argue, Wyoming's got some funky rules about, I mean, outfitters, basically, from a non-residence perspective, they kind of got the one way you can get into the wildernesses and hunt. You have to be with an outfitter, which is like insane to me personally, at least.
Yeah.
But having said that, like, for the most part in the States, outfitters are just service providers. They have very little, like in Colorado, no pull on tags. They have no control of the resource. They're just service providers. So I have mixed feelings on it, but it is for sure a thing.
It's mostly just knowledge, right? I mean, that's what you're using a lot of a guide service is ultimately. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing. So you came out, you bought an outfitter, flat tops. Did you like just get into guiding too, since you owned it? Like, how'd you?
Oh, I had off and on guided. Over the years. So I wasn't brand new to guiding, and I wasn't brand new to the livestock component. Like, I'd packed up.
You grew up doing that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes. Did Dad still do that stuff?
No.
No.
Yeah. It's funny, man.
Maybe a young dad,
Yeah. What's funny, dude, like, I think that, because I notice it in my own world with my own kids. Like, I have kids that are old enough to hunt, and I've never hunted with them. You know what I mean? Like, they're just on like the, that 12, 13-year-old type of deal. But but I've done a lot of other things with them. Like, one of my daughters likes to lobster dive and that sort of thing. So that's like a different world. But it's something that I enjoy, like, in the off season. I don't have that, maybe it's bias or whatever. I'm sure I'll take them hunting, but I think I grew up in that. I think I grew up in that way a lot. Like, all the hunting I did, man, as a kid, like, I hunted with my dad very, very little. Like, I can remember just a handful of hunts hunting with my dad.
Yeah.
Even though he was in the business, and I think it was just because, like, like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
if you're in the business, it's not what you want to do on your off time.
Yeah, exactly. You're tired, Yeah. So you're owning an outfitting business. You don't own that anymore, right? You sold that and moved on. How did that go?
Yeah. So I had a couple things going. Like, over the years, I had expanded a little bit, where I'd worked out deals with other outfitters. I had, so I kind of was hunting a lot of Colorado, and then I had a pretty big booking business too. I was taking a bunch of guys to Canada and that sort of thing. So I had both those businesses, and they're all the same clientele. And then COVID. So let's see here. So, COVID kind of killed the booking deal for a period of time, like, for everybody.
Yeah.
And on that side of thing. And then my business, in my mind, you get it's another thing that you'll observe about the guiding business is guys tend to kind of get stuck in it. You know what I mean? They kind of get, and I even could see that a little bit. It's like, yeah, there's certain things you run into, particularly if you're a public land outfitter. So we talked about like the growth. So I grew into all the capacity that I could do. Like all my, your permitting a lot of times would be like commercial days. So you max that out, you can't grow it anymore. And then part of that as I grew, there was different things that happened, but one thing that happens is you start to interact with like the federal land management departments a lot because you're trying to do things, you're trying to grow all of that. I hated that part of the business.
What would you hate about it?
I mean, you may not want to go down this path, and but I'll keep it short. Given all like the land management stuff that's even come up recently, with selling public land and all of that, like in which of course I oppose, and I'm glad that none of it is occurring. At least right now, the land management of a lot of the places we hunt is like D- quality. That's just the reality. And people who don't like, I don't want to like I'm not trying to like disparage folks that this is a big part of like their platform and what they talk about. But a lot of people who talk about public land management, they have always viewed it as solely a user, solely as somebody who comes in and uses those places for one specific use, one specific part of the year. And that's their knowledge, or that's their experience. And then they take everything that comes out of this world as like gospel and truth.
Yeah.
I can promise you, anybody who has worked with federal land managers day to day has a completely different opinion.
Really?
About how things get done, how corrupt or uncorrupt it is, how fair it is, all of that.
So maybe not so fair,
not so fair at all. I mean, I could like, there's all sorts. I mean, if you like, as an example, if somebody would ever want to like really dig into federal land management, they should look at how a Vail Resorts, the big ski industry, is dealt with relative to the 200 other special uses that are on, say, the White River Forest, right?
Sure. Right.
Completely different set of rules, but the exact same legal structure, right? What is that? So those sort of things are like, I mean, it's not like it's like they're like people who are in these departments are bad people. I think it's just like the nature of these things. But it can be amazingly frustrating if you're trying to grow a business within that environment. That's what I would say. So I'll leave it at that. It was a big it was a big frustration for me. And it wasn't like, I mean, nobody did me wrong or whatever, but I could no longer, I was basically like kind of capacity limited on what I could do. So that was one of the reasons I started thinking about selling my business. And the reality is I thought it was going to take me like 5 years to sell my business. And,
Right.
and yeah, I forgot to say, like, one of the things that you notice in the outfitting guiding world is guys will get stuck in it, and then two things happen. They tend to get very jaded with their clientele. Their customer service drops. I don't know. Yeah, you might have like run into folks over the years, but like the old like prototypical like outfitter guy. Just, so you have that, like they get real jaded with their clientele. Their customer service drops off. And a lot of it is because they build up good reputations and they actually have pretty good operations because they just work out all the bugs. And then what happens though is that they become the result of that success is that they don't need their clients. Oh,
Right.
like, oh, Jim, like you're bitching because like it's not as good as a camp as it was last year. I don't care. I'll just get somebody new, and they said, so that's because I got guys lined up,
Yeah.
so, which is not good business. And I don't think it's fun to operate a business in that environment, but that happens in that world. And then what the other thing that happens is it coincides with physical deterioration. I mean, it's just a physical job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're operating one, you're guiding one, when you get into your 40s, 50s, 60s, like it's going to start to hurt.
You're beat up at that point.
Yeah, for sure. And so those two things coincide, and I kind of saw that, and I was like, you know what? Like, I love guiding, I love hunting. I kind of want to keep it like that, and I don't want to get myself like stuck in this for. Now, it would have been different if I could have grown it, and that goes back to like the other component of it, but that would have been very tricky for me, and I had other things going on. But anyways, I thought it was going to take me 5-6 years because I had 90 horses and mules. I had all this crap going on. Like, who's going to buy this
whole operation? Yeah.
And I basically had it sold in like less than a couple weeks. I think it was just like, I don't think it was, I don't think it was that I had it underpriced or whatever. Or, I think it was just like kind of fate. The right guy was looking at the right time. And I had a really good crew at the time. They still run it now. And that made it, I think, where it was easier for somebody to buy it. And so I sold it, and like, it kind of surprised me. And then I was back to another pivot in life, I suppose.
Yeah. So now you pivot. That's when you pivoted to the content creation side of things. Is that kind of your?
Yeah. So like slowly, I mean, or like, that wasn't really my intention, man.
Right.
You might have noticed this, like, this seems to be a theme in my life. I seems to be working out all right, but sometimes maybe like irrational choices in there, and then some things occur. But I had been doing content as part of my business because I was dealing with so many hunters.
Right.
So like, one thing that was I didn't dislike it, but it was a huge time consumer for me, was answering hundreds of hunters' questions, right? So like, the number I threw out earlier included like a lot of my booking clients, but just in the hunting in the States, I had like 150 clients a year I was dealing with, and they're all getting prepared for hunts and everything else. So, just answering all their emails and all that was very time consuming. So I figured out, if I made YouTube videos, I could just
send them a link.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it worked amazingly well. And so whenever I sold the business, I just kind of, that was there, and it just kind of like was organically growing with none of this YouTube shit that people talk about, putting out a video every year and thumbnails and all that stuff, which, I do all that stuff now. Like, I've gotten better at it.
Right.
But it wasn't any of that. It was just like people were watching them, and I was getting comments and stuff. So I fell back into it. And it's funny because you mentioned the Rogan thing. Like, when Joe asked me to be on the show, I was like, wow, this is like, I'm not going to tell you no, of course, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, just kind of flabbergasted he wanted me to come on the show, but it was a real weird time in my life because I had nothing to promote. Nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
I need a business to promote while you're at it.
Yeah. Like, you're like, oh, dude, but in the end, who knows, but it's just kind of a funny thing. You know what I mean? And I think that I think, admittedly, I had been, before I was on Rogan, like, I had started back up on the social media stuff. Like, I was starting to crank out some more content on YouTube. So that wasn't like the pivot, but it did, like, that, and then kind of a bunch of other things that happened at that time kind of got some momentum going, which made it fun, which made the social media stuff fun, and I enjoy it. It's funny. Like, I mean, you brought it up in the beginning. Like, my stuff is how-to oriented. I wouldn't call myself like maybe there's little things in it that at least I find funny or fun or whatever, but it's not entertainment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a slow. I don't think it'll ever. I don't think it's like, I'm not going to gain 100,000 subscribers every day or something. It's like a slow thing, but
yeah, right.
But the amount of positive feedback I get is like insane. You know what I mean? So
it's very practical, very accessible.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it, man. So I think maybe I'm addicted to that a little bit. Like, I'm addicted to guys sending me something, be like, hey, dude, I tried this on my elk hunt and it worked. And guys send me pictures and all that stuff. You become addicted to that.
Yeah. Well, you got the analytical brain right? So, yeah, it's probably think about things a little bit more of in a systematic, process oriented way, probably than most.
Yeah, probably to a fault, man. I don't go. I mean, I have hour videos that could probably be 5 minutes out of.
Yeah, but you need that watch time, That's how you get those subscribers, I'm just waiting for you to tell everybody to smash the subscribe button at the end. I don't think I've ever said that. That's how you're a pro, at least from what I can tell.
Yeah. I hate to ask this shit because I should have known this before, but do you guys distribute content on YouTube quite a bit?
Oh yeah, it's been more the shorts,
Oh,
short form. And we'll do some films on there, depending if it's something we own or some of our partners own. So
sure.
we put stuff there, and then on and off throughout the year, we'll do little things that we get asked that we just answer in a video, kind of like you said. If we hear the question a lot, it's like, well, let's just do a quick video about it.
Yeah, saves you a lot of.
Yeah, and it's cool, and like it is fun. I love thinking about things like that. I spend a lot of my free time thinking about it. So something that we might as well just keep doing it.
Yeah. I mean, all of it's amazing. I mean, like for all the things that people talk crap about social media on, like, I mean, YouTube is an insane resource, dude.
You can do anything with it. Really.
I know. Yeah.
I didn't even know what Biltong was until I found your channel. That's all I'm saying. What I actually need to ask, right? Because I make jerky, but like Biltong is its own thing, kind of, right?
Yeah. So this is a good debate, man. Because is it its own thing? And I think it has to do with like semantics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I think about jerky, I think about thinly cut meat that is marinated, usually in like a teriyaki type of base. You know what I mean? And usually for like several days. And then it's dehydrated or smoked. That's what I think jerky is.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, and then the reason I say that is some people view jerky like a little bit different, but that's what I view jerky as. And for Biltong, for me, it's a different set of like flavors because they use coriander.
Yeah.
If you don't like coriander,
right?
Yeah, it's South Africa. If you don't like coriander, I mean, you can still make, what Biltong, but it's not really Biltong.
No, that's what that's what I can tell online. The flavoring is important.
Yeah, I think that's like because you could argue the other stuff it's really not different than jerky. You know what I mean? But that the flavor component of it is different. You know what I mean? And I think that it's worth noting. It's funny, like coriander must be a type of ingredient that's not like too off-putting to too many people, because you don't get very many people that dislike it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just more like kind of a neutral type of flavoring, but it is different. But man, the difference from me outside of that component is the ease of making it. Like literally, dude, like I have that box downstairs, and guys ask me about the box, and they're like, "Oh, I don't have the money to buy a box or whatever." It's like, dude, you could buy a box. I mean, you can make a box. It's a computer fan with like a cardboard box or something. Like, you can make it for $20. It's just gonna look shitty in your kitchen or whatever. But who cares? You just have to have like airflow. I mean, there's a lot of guys that just hang the meat up, hang the meat up in their kitchen. As long as you have like AC that's controlling the humidity. So you don't have real high humidity.
Yeah,
real where you live.
Room, yeah.
And then airflow, it's just drying the meat out. It's literally like I just perpetually keep meat in that box that dries out.
Those strips of meat. Well, you can make. Here's a DIY. I just pulled it up. DIY Biltong box, and you just make a wooden box, and you put a little light bulb in there and a fan, and a little latch for your door, and you can just. So you just hang meat. Does it stink? Does your house have a smell to it?
What it smells like it'll smell like the coriander.
Yeah, right.
It'll smell like it smells good, I think. Yeah. But no, and it's like it's just so easy because I can just like over the last few weeks, just kind of passively like I'll get, dude. I mean, you're probably the same way, man. You have whatever. So a mule deer from 2 years ago or whatever. You just have stuff in your freezer that you got
weird stuff in there after a while.
Yeah, so you get it out, cut it into strips. I dip it into vinegar, and that's kind of like a kill step. To some extent, like it's
apple cider or white or
Yeah, I use apple cider.
Yeah.
The one they say to use malt. That's like the traditional one
Okay.
is malt vinegar. But I've just stuck to apple cider vinegar because like I've used it and I've liked the output.
I
So
like the flavor of it a little bit.
yeah. So it's probably like a little personal preference, but I just dip it in there, get it covered with that, and then dip it in the seasoning and hang it up. And then I mean, admittedly, like I eat it out of the box a lot. Like I'll just reach in and see if it's
Just
like,
reach it, yeah.
yeah,
Snack box.
yeah, and then the rest you can freeze it, you can use it on hunts or whatever. But for me at least, it's just a much simpler process.
Yeah.
And the end product is like what I would describe the end product as is it's less of like a candy and it's more just like is it a little less flavorful than like jerky I used to make that was like covered in teriyaki and honey, like red pepper or whatever. Yeah. But it's so much easier to make.
Yeah.
And
you can
to me,
crank it out because jerky can take forever.
yeah, pain in the ass, dude. Like it's in your fridge. You got it in there, you got it batched up, and then of course, like everybody's doing like 30 pounds of jerky, and then everybody's got the cheapo Charlie like round dehydrator.
Oh yeah, one of those.
So
plastic, yeah.
Yeah. So now you got you gotta fill that thing up 45 times.
I was gonna say, and that's like over a month of hydrating because it takes.
Yeah, but you have to back because otherwise you're like wasting all the marinade.
Right. Or if you go on a smoker, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
You gotta dick around with it. Yeah. I'm not tried Biltong. Well, and that's honestly one of the things I really liked about some of the information on your channel is kind of nutrition related. So I've got food allergies and stuff. So I've had to I've never been able to rely on like a mountain house. I've always had to like make a meal or like piece it together, Yeah. And so when I first started, going on backcountry hunts, it was a lot of there were a lot of really hungry days. I had a lot of days where I would come home and my wife would be like, "You look noticeably thinner than when you let us," and I've learned the hard way how to get the right kind of calories, and I burn fast anyways. Like I burn calories pretty fast, so
sure.
I just had to figure out a good system.
How do you do it? What's your? I mean, are you like a paleo carnivore guy? Like what have you done?
Yeah, so I mean, my big thing is I can't have gluten, so that takes out a lot of stuff. I generally don't eat processed sugar and not very much dairy. I'll have some butter. So there are certain meals that you can get, freeze-dried meals you can buy from the stores. They're so bad. They are I've gone on hunts for after 2 days, I can't even look at the bag. I'm like, I'll just be hungry. I can't eat. Yeah, my crap smells like my food, exactly, and I can't live, that way. But I've switched to a lot of dried fruit, fats peanut butter packets, ghee packets, a lot of jerky and stuff. And actually, one thing that I've started to do was those powdered mashed potatoes.
Okay.
Like little packets of that, you can get packs or whatever, and then you mix that with whatever your protein is, and you can it'll fill you up. It's pretty delicious to have mashed potatoes in the bag.
Sure. Yeah. So you do your own some of your own stuff. Do you have your own freeze dryer yet?
No, yeah. I'm glad. No, my brother and my sister-in-law just bought one. And I've been watching them and all the things that they do, and I know it is a matter of time before I just start doing it. It's expensive, kind of, to get a freeze dryer. They're not as cheap as a dehydrator or whatever.
Right.
But man, the things you can do with it is incredible. Do you have one? You have one.
Yeah, dude. So I do have one, and it works great, and it's a harvest, right? What I have found with it is, and it goes back to kind of what I was alluding to at the Biltong, it's real small batches. And so I think that if you make it integral to you got to kind of, for me, I got to kind of figure out how to make it where it's easy to use it day to day.
Yeah.
Just so if I'm making scrambled eggs, I can, just double it. and then freeze dry them.
Throw-
You know what I mean? Like you got to get in that mode because
where you're just building over time.
Yeah, because if you're just like today I'm gonna freeze dried food, it's like okay, do 30 minutes of steps and then you gotta wait 3 days.
Yeah.
Well, while a half some small portion gets done.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of figure out like a way that fits in. So I haven't used it all that much because of that. And I'll be honest, the other thing about it is like when I do use it, man, it gets my kids like we just did a bunch of strawberries, and I swear like it's like it all got like a bunch of strawberries all freeze dried turns into like this much.
Like total,
yeah, which is great. It's like backcountry stuff, same deal, right?
Yeah.
It's not like but my kids they just total it in like an hour and a half.
My daughter's the same way. I'll make jerky and it's gone. So it's unbelievable how much jerky a kid can eat.
Oh, yeah.
Which I get, it's delicious, but no, it's that what you said about kind of building. It's what they've kind of done, and it's why I haven't gotten it yet, because it's like it's a process. It's like a thing. It takes up space. It's a lot of effort. So I mean, for the most part, I've gotten by now pretty well with just kind of packing my own meal.
Yeah, sure.
Making it a couple, 1 gallon plastic bag with little plastic bags inside and kind of spaced out my stuff. And, but again, I mean, I learned the hard way, and when I was trying to learn it, there was not a lot of resources for people like me that, were not going the traditional, you buy 5 mountain houses for 5, or whatever.
Sure.
And so like, there are times where we'd come into town, during a hunt, we'd get into a Walmart and like, I would be like deliriously like I'd eat a whole bag of chips walking around the store and just pay for the empty bag, that kind of thing, as I'm like shopping for all my other food. So
yeah, well, that weight loss is a real issue. Like if you're a skinny guy and you're hunting and you lose weight, because it kind of like there's no way to do it. Because dude, I used to lose lots of weight when I was guiding. Like I mean, I was a 165-pound guy and I'd lose 20 pounds.
Right.
Guidance, like it's like ridiculous. And I've like the thing is it's like you go through it and you think you're like being effective, but if you're losing weight like that, you're not. You're just always slow, and
if you're crappy, you don't think right. Like my brain doesn't work, and I have to like really mentally make myself do things that I shouldn't have to work so hard mentally to get up.
Yeah, no, for sure. I can relate to that. And
no, I don't have a lot of extra to burn. Some guys can go out and eat very little and just focus on what they've been packing on the rest of the year. Do all right. Not so much. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, you have a lot of good information that I wanted to have you on just to tell people about and point them your way and just kind of hear the background about it. But I found it useful, and I can credit my camera guy for that, for really like, you got to see this video. It was actually what he sent me of yours was you talked about kind of putting together meals for the backcountry, and you had your pineapple with the ghee on it.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, and dates, like truly, I tried it. I'm the date guy for sure. I've got, I get them in like 20-pound boxes. I like the dates. So
yeah, that's my favorite, man. The only thing about it is like when it's hot, it sucks because it gets all over the place.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's hard. That's hard to beat, dude.
It's hard to beat. Yeah, it really is. Well, anyways, where can people find you and follow you and see what you're up to?
Yeah. So pursuitwithcliff.com is my website, and that has everything on it. My Instagram is CLIFFGRY. Oh, and I will mention, because you guys are Kifaru guys too, is I'm doing a giveaway with Kifaru, and it is at pursuitwithcliff.com/Kifaru. I think I'm doing it on the 24th, and giving away like over $1,000 of Kifaru stuff, so people can check that out if they're interested and sign up. You don't have to buy anything to sign up. Just sign up for the giveaway. I'm doing like a live Q&A when I give away this stuff. So figured that'd be worth mentioning.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But that's where all the info is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, this will go out before then, so that's perfect.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, definitely go check that out. Well, Cliff, thanks for coming on, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.